Chapter 3. God's gift of intelligence and scientific knowledge is being abused and misused by man with impurity for the pollution and destruction of his Garden of Eden on earth. We, the so-called intellectual giants and scientific wiseacres, are driving the hapless humanity into the headlong race towards the abyss of self-destruction and veritable hell. We have had enough of intellectual and scientific universities and institutions which have not been able to discover the image of God in man or science of the soul within. It is so ironical that human beings with 1. Modern civilization, 2. Precocious intelligence, 3. High education, 4. Sophisticated scientific knowledge, 5. Profuse religious knowledge, should fall prey to the baneful elusive Maya and unconsciously contribute towards converting the Garden of Eden on earth into a veritable, dry, dreary, barren, desolate, burning desert. Thus man has contributed to change this world into a desolate, burning desert where mistrust, doubt, hatred, fear, corruption, aggression, envy, avarice, wickedness, sensuality, jealousy, selfishness, unrest, strife, violence, cruelty, wars prevail as a rule rather than exception. In fact, human mind and consciousness is the repository of thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, and faith, and their cumulative effect is reflected in the subconscious mind, which represents our character and personality, good or bad. In other words, man always carries within himself his own self-created desert or oasis in his consciousness wherever he goes and whatever he does. For a concrete example, let us consider anger, which is one of the many depraved instincts of the creation. When we get angry, our innate fire of egoistic consciousness is ignited, and we lose all sense of morality, ethics, reasoning, and justice, and behave like brutes. We add fuel to this fire with our beastly behavior until it becomes a bonfire in which many people are involved with terrible results. The self-ignited bonfire of anger burns our physical and mental energies and virtues, and we become miserable, nervous wrecks. This is evident from the increasing nervous tension and mental disorders prevailing amongst the human species. If the outcome of one bout of anger can be so devastating, the cumulative result of frequent bouts of anger can well be imagined. Similarly, insidious results of other human depraved instincts such as selfishness, greed, lust, desires, envy, jealousy, etc., can also be baneful and devastating, which contribute to make this world so dreadful. Since the human mind is the repository of many of those depraved instincts, we are always under the sway of one or more of these negative elements of miseries and destruction. Hence, our mind becomes a veritable bonfire, which we unconsciously feed with various kinds of fuels of our depraved instincts to make burning deserts of our lives. In other words, we create dry, dreary, barren, desolate, burning deserts in our consciousness in which we are roasted day and night for the whole life until and unless we are able to find an oasis within our consciousness. Frequent indulgence in these depraved instincts make them insidious and develop into strong propensities and formidable habits which cannot be undone easily. Thus they permeate and proliferate deep into our very being and become a part and parcel of our lives and make brutes of us. In other words, man made in the image of God and supposed to live in and enjoy the Garden of Eden on earth has unconsciously developed desolate burning desert or veritable hell for himself and is suffering from terrible miseries and tragedies of his own making. The crux of the matter is that these desolate burning desires in our consciousness do not end with our death. When we die, we shed our physical bodies and our soul carries forward the old instincts in our subconsciousness to the next birth. In fact, our depraved instincts are transferred from one boiling cauldron to another to make us suffer miseries and agonies life after life. It is a tragedy that human beings made in the image of God should degenerate and involve himself in such miserable burning hell life after life, simply because he was seduced by the glittering charm of Maya and lost faith in his creator and benefactor, the gracious, loving God. In fact, this insidious, vicious fire of baser instincts of vices has been smoldering and developing in the atmosphere of the universe for quite a long time, which may blow up at any time to destroy the whole world. In other words, we are unconsciously and complacently sitting on the top of a smoldering volcano of our own making, which may erupt at any time with a bang more powerful than Hiroshima. Thus, an unending, vicious circle of sufferings and agonies of smoldering bonfire in our consciousness is carried forward and continued from life to life. The only way to break this vicious circle of devastating fire of hell is to make about turn or change our consciousness from the egoistic plane of forgetfulness or denial of divinity to the intuitional plane of faith in divine benevolence of peace, joy, bliss, and love. This crucial change in consciousness is only possible with the help and guidance of awakened, illuminated souls blessed by the Lord. The consciousness of such blessed souls is elevated, ignited, and illuminated with divine grace and love, and is filled with the celestial virtues of kindness, compassion, joy, bliss, and love. This involves the transition of human consciousness from the physical and mental planes to the spiritual planes of intuition, i.e., divine intelligence and knowledge. This transition or transformation of souls works through intuitional infection and ignition of the aspiring soul with sublime, effulgent light, emanating from awakened, enlightened, and blessed soul by the grace of God.